This is Abdullah Konte with Win Sports, the sports section to the Washington Informer. And there was a lot of moves that were made yesterday, or I guess today. Basically, wanted to talk a lot about what it means to the team and who are these players that are coming in. Are they people who are going to be seeing playing time, with the starting defense? Are they more role players? And how it just affects the team overall. So let's get into it. The first thing I wanted to talk about is actually the players that were released. It's crazy because, we have obviously Falami, Fehoko, Allen George, but the one that's big is Dominique Hampton. And, look, there was a lot of criticism from Hampton over the weekend. He did not play super well. I watched the all 22s, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, and he didn't play super well. I mean, I don't think any of the linebackers played very well. There's a reason why they gave up 40-some points. There was a lot of overrunning plays, just getting swallowed up by guards and tackles. Just not a lot of shedding of blocks. And I think it's tough because I think Hampton is a player that has skills. I actually watched him a few times at Washington. We actually were able to cover a game up in Washington when they played Utah, and he made a pick in that game. He was a safety before. He was I think he's just not athletic to play safety in the league, which is why they moved him to linebacker. And I think they were hoping that he could be a player that was athletic linebacker. But I think he just might not be, have that strength to get off blocks and shed blocks that he would need to playing linebacker. And I think that was kind of the experiment that just didn't work out. And it's crazy because this is the first time I think we've seen Adam Peters let go of a player that he drafted. Obviously I think he was a 6th rounder last year. I think we got to give kudos for him making moves. I think the best thing that I've seen from this is that they clearly want to correct every element of the team. And, it doesn't have to be a starter. It could be guys that are like, hey, man, we need you to make plays, whether it's on special teams or the depth pieces that we were talking about. I mean, last time, I was talking with Skyler, it was just our biggest concern was depth. The depth on this team is one that needs to be corrected. And I think that that's what they're kind of doing here with these changes. So, they let go of Hampton. It was just, I think it was probably a tough decision for them in a way, just because it's a guy that they brought in and they really only have seen him for a year. So, but I think a lot of people were kind of expecting this. I was kind of expecting it maybe towards the 53-man cut. I didn't expect it now. And, I thought they'd give him maybe a couple more games to see if he could turn it around. But I think they just saw what they needed to see. They saw enough and they decided to go a different direction. So it's a little disappointing for him. I hope he has another chance somewhere else because I think he's a talented player. I just think that sometimes people it's hard to find the actual position for them because the college game is different than the pro game. So for him, I think it's just maybe not athletic enough to play safety and then just not big enough to play linebacker. I don't know. That's just basically what it seems like. But let's talk about the guys that they brought in. The first one is Duke Riley, linebacker who has been in the league, I think, for about 7 years or so. He played at LSU and then went to Atlanta and then Philly and in Miami for the past 3 years. Seemed to contribute as a player on the actual field. So I do think he'll probably be more of a second teamer behind Bobby and Frankie. But, he's another piece I think is going to be a guy who plays a lot on special teams also. I think all these moves that they made were very, catered to trying to get better special teams play and better depth play. He is a guy who can move sideline to sideline. He reads blocks well. I think he has the patience to play, and I think that's the thing that I saw that was lacking with the linebackers that played this past weekend. Was I felt like guys were just running really hard, trying to get to the place, but not reading the plays super well. And I think that was the first thing I saw Duke Riley do, is that he does read plays pretty well. So I'm excited to see him. We'll see how he transitions to this team and if it's a good fit. Because obviously we still don't know if he's going to make the team. They signed him to give him a chance. We'll see how he does in these next two games, the next two preseason games. The next guy is Essang Bassey. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. He is a player that was undrafted in 2020 out of Wake Forest. Kind of a, mid-sized corner, 5'10". The vibe that I got, he's really fast. It seemed like he's very quick. He's played on, 4 different teams. It seems like he went back and forth from the Broncos and the Chargers, and then was on the practice squad for the Lions last year. Basically, to me, he seems like a kind of a quick guy. I get the vibe that this guy is going to be more of just somebody they're trying out to see if he can play well on special teams. Because, look, I was at practice yesterday. The corners are infinitely better than they've been in the past. And, you got 4 corners that you feel really strong about. 5 if you're including the slot side of things, because you have Lattimore, Sanderstill, Amos, Jonathan Jones, and Noah. And so is there really a spot for somebody to come in that's really going to contribute on the team when it comes to playing defense? I don't really see that. Vigors is somebody that we think can play, but he has also had a little bit tough of a game on Friday. So I think this is a position where they're trying to see guys who can come in and play hard and maybe be assets to the special teams elements of things. Because that was clearly what the biggest issue was on Friday, was the special teams was not good. And a lot of it was just guys not being able to shed blocks. And I guess you got to question effort a little bit. So that's what I see with him. We'll see how he plays. Obviously we'll see a lot of these guys in the next 2 games. And then the last guy is Antonio Hamilton, which is probably the guy that I'm most excited about. He is about 6 foot. He's been in the league for a while too. Something I didn't mention about the last 2 guys, Bassey is 26. Riley was, I think, 31. Hamilton's 32. So it's clear that they don't care that much about age. Which is interesting with the whole Terry negotiation stuff. But they've signed a lot of guys who are older. I think they want to get guys who know what they're doing. And this guy's been in the league for a while. He's played on like 6 different teams. When I watched his tape, I love his length. He's about 6 foot, but he has long limbs. And also just kind of an aggressive player. Like, he's somebody that I feel like could probably play a little safety too. But just gets after it. And I think this is another reason why I think it could be another person. I think I have more feelings that he could play, in our normal defensive set than the last corner. But I think that he is somebody who's also really going to be contributing on special teams also. I just thought out of the 3 guys that they signed, this is the one that I think I'm the most excited about. It could be moot point. At the end of the training camp, these guys could all be cut. We don't know. These are all, depth pieces. It is one of these things where I don't see these guys contributing too much when it comes to, everyday plays, on the starting defense roles. But, you need to change things on your depth. You need to change things when it comes to your special teams. Those are the 2 things that were extremely lacking. And I think that's what I, admire most about this administration, is that they will make the moves that are necessary. I think it's hard to let go of guys. I could never do it. I feel like it would be hard to tell people that they're cut, and but these guys are like, hey, it's a business and they want to be the best. And I think they recognize like, hey, we got to change some things up. The fact of the matter is they had, I think, 14 people come in for a tryout yesterday. So that just said a lot to me. It means that they're really trying to, chip away at every part of this team and make sure that from top to bottom, they're going to be, in position for success. So, great, crazy moves, a lot on a Monday. Kind of crazy to see Hampton go, but also, it's understandable. Wish them the best, and just excited to see these guys play and see what happens. Just wanted to drop in, talk about these new moves. If you got any, feedback, questions, feel free to hit the comments. And I'll talk to you on the next one.